Well, having said that, it's not plain sailing. I was cautious of the way that, and many people are, that we always seem to experience the near-death experiences. I say we, they, according to their background experience. So the Christian sees, Jesus, and Catholic might see Mary, and the the secular might see a relative or an aunt that was, and they're the guide, and it's as if everything's sweet from their expectation, which is, all very nice, and but just a slight bells of concern ringing in the back of my mind that what happens if it's all phony, fake? Well, interestingly, I'm thinking of the theosophical view, which, or is it basically that? I'm not sure, but yes, the understanding that yes, there is an astral world that you go to, but it's not that much higher than this one. It is a spiritual world as opposed to a physical material world, but it perhaps has the same values as here, and with some of the same problems. In other words, some of the spirits floating around might just be very happy to impersonate Jesus and fill with such authority, then fill you with continuing guilt, such that you feel you must, of conscience or of pressure of God, return to this world and look after your kids who are going to be destitute without you. God's not apparently able to care for them without you returning. Do you see? There can be a great absence of a reality, for instance, of a loving, caring Heavenly Father in these presentations. And that's all right with the person who's in the near-death experience, in the sense that, well, they weren't expecting such. They were expecting what they were expecting, at best, Auntie being there, or something according to their religion, if they had one, that Mary was there, or Jesus or the Archangel Gabriel was there to shepherd them through and discuss things with them and give them a review of their life and go through all the things that makes them feel guilty, and whereupon they realize, oh my goodness, I'm not ready for heaven yet, am I? I must go back. And then there's a whole school of thought building up now which says there are spirits in the astral world that gain a great deal from you being in the material world. They, in some sense, feed off your... Now, this is pretty sinister view, I might point out. I don't want to go into it too deeply, but they can feed off your predicament and your constant... and after all, it is argued against Marshall's thesis, you might think. My thesis, well, it's not just mine, but that, the earth is, this world rather, is the material world is a learning situation. Well, what's the point in the learning situation if each time I come into it, nearly all my memories of the previous lives are blotted out? I've got to start from scratch again and hope that the environment I've landed in gives me enough continuity. And it doesn't, as one lady points out, I might have been a hedgehog in their last life, and they come into this life with lots of hedgehog hoarding, food orientated purpose, and don't realize, well, in that particular case, they didn't have something to bring from a previous life, but probably don't remember being a hedgehog until, the therapist apparently reveals it to them by some sort of therapy, I don't know. But whatever. Do you see there is still uncertainty in being in the astral world from a traditional point of view, well, traditional from, say, theosophical and Eastern point of view, in that there are still spirits that are questionable in the astral world. I don't want to keep returning because it's in some other spirit's interest that I keep returning here. Do you see? Don't be gullible is the big message you would think is coming from such a concern, isn't it? Don't be gullible. Just because you're in the next world doesn't mean to say Jesus chatting to you is Jesus. I mean, this is awful if it is Jesus, of course, but if it isn't, the last thing you want to do is, be discussing your next future incarnation on earth with someone that appears to be an angel of light, but is not. Oh, what can one do about this, you think? Well, seems to be a fairly obvious solution, and that is make sure that you are focused on God, your heavenly dad, or your God anyway. And your God is not some potential demon, if you like, who's persuading you to come back against 1,000 times to no point. Keep blotting out your memory each time so you can't remember anyway what progress you made in the previous life. I mean, it doesn't sound too safe, does it? We have a single devotion from the learning of the Jesus story too. Forget about theosophy and Western religion if you're of some sort of Christian background bent. And that is from the Jesus story, if you look at it. We are to love God with all our heart, soul, mind and strength. I'm not interested in coming back. My devotion is to God, and my understanding is He's all-powerful. And He can achieve in this life all that's necessary for me to go straight to heaven, His heaven. The highest heaven, if you like, not some astral compromise and keep flitting backwards and forwards from the astral to the material to the astral to the material for, 1 million incarnations until the sheer wearing of time makes me just about ready for the next step. No, our trust is in an all-powerful, all-loving Heavenly Father. The childhood is here, apparently, since I'm here, and I'm learning, and I can follow what the Jesus story says. I'm going to trust in Him. And He's one with me. He dwells in me, and I in Him. And therefore He puts everything right. And it's sure He may leave me in this world a bit longer to put a few more things right, to put it mildly. But do you see? I'm not compromising. I can't be bought with another life. No, you can't offer me wealth this time instead of the poverty and hunger I might have experienced. You can't offer me freedom this time on earth instead of the slavery I might have experienced. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for constant, permanent realization, consciousness of my God. Well, in my particular case, our Heavenly Dad. I can't be bought with guilt or with attachment. God is well able to put everything right behind me. He's doing everything. He doesn't need me there. I was only there because it was a good teaching place. But what happens if God tells me, oh, you must go back, you need a good teaching place? I don't need to be told. He'll do that anyway. But according to the Jesus story, I don't need to. As I choose to trust and see it, why would I want to trust in less? Do you see what I mean? I believe in God. Why? Because it seems to be the best personification of what I truly value. I don't know the probability of it being true. I only know that that is my high calling at present And that is what I take into the next world. And therefore my security is in, as I see it, what do you think? But as I see it, in my trust in God and his having me at his side, along with the other trillion. Yes, I know, it doesn't sound, something feasible in my understanding of the dimensions of existence. But that's not surprising, I'm a child. But with God, it's possible, and certainly I want to believe it's possible in what I understand to be the essence of the Jesus story. He's my heavenly dad. Well, this was just meant to be a follow-up to, I was reviewing the previous recording here, and I'm now saying it in the light of this development of near-death experience understanding. Be cautious of what the next experience when you die offers you. Go in very clearly that your purpose, I would think the safest purpose, is no, I wish to be with God. Not back on earth, no way. And not here in the astral forever either, no way. My place is with God. That's what I value. And if there's any freedom at all, that's what I'm going to take. Nothing else. You cannot persuade me. I am not open to, I'm blocking on you. Why? Because there's still in the astral world, and perhaps the next one up, I'm not certain. And I don't know for certain how many up I'm asking to go. But I do know what I'm asking for, which is the permanent consciousness of the presence of God and his will, not yours, the Spirit now talking to me, God's will. That's what I worship. Nothing else. In other words, thy will be done, Heavenly Father. A basis of the Jesus prayer, wasn't it? Sorry, not John 17 prayer now, but the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples in the story to say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In other words, it's his will I want to focus on. And all my asking, if any at all, is in that context. Not the being I'm talking to or presented to. Even if it's God himself, I'm still thinking, but it's God I'm loving and devoted to. And if there's any possibility of this apparition before me at the present not being God, then it's not relevant. I know. If our God does not rescue us, still we will not worship you. And like my first wife, I don't just want healing. If it's not God's healing, I don't want healing. That got to me, that did. Wow. That really did amaze me, that. She was a great blessing to me spiritually. And I hope I was to her. I don't know. We never know, do we? Thank you, Heavenly Dad.